disappoint this season. Then we'll talk about who will be in a relegation battle. I'll also then talk about some interesting transfers that have happened in the league. Who are the best players in the league, or most likely going to be the best players this season. And breakout stars. Then we're going to look at the leagues outside the Big Five leagues, where we'll do a little bit less detailed because I don't know too much about them, but we'll look at the title race for them, interesting transfers, and the best players of the season. Feel free, I'll put the timestamps in to skip ahead to any league you are interested in, but hopefully you guys do enjoy this video. Let me know out of these leagues which one you are most excited for, and if I could ask you, please help me on my road to 3,000 subscribers. We are very, very close, and hopefully try to hit it before the start of the season, so please press subscribe. But without further ado, let's begin. In no particular order, we begin with Serie A. Now Serie A is looking really exciting. 14 clubs have changed managers this summer. We've got Alessandro Nesta, Thiago Motta, Cesc Fabregas, Daniel De Rossi, all being managers in Serie A this season, which is pretty mental. So, let's talk about the Serie A title race. Inter Milan. Inter, the defending champions, are the favourites to win the title this year. Last season, the Nerazzurri showcased their strength by clinching the Scudetto with 5 games to spare, only losing 2 games in the league. They've kept their key players such as Lautaro Martinez and Nicola Barella, who will be crucial once again to their upcoming campaign, while the addition of 3 signings, Mehdi Delaney and Peter Zielinski, further strengthens their depth. However, it is worth mentioning that no team has managed to retain their title since Juventus lost their streak of 9 consecutive seasons in 2019-20 season. So, Inter, while they definitely look like the best team in Serie A, could find it difficult to retain the crown. Juventus, determined to reclaim their dominance, are always in the mix for the title. Despite not winning the league for the past few seasons, they have made significant squad improvements and look like a fresh team ready to compete again. The club have added Kevlin Dalam and Douglas Luiz to their midfield, with Koopmeiners potentially also incoming. They also have Johan Cabal to strengthen their defence, and the best Serie A goalkeeper from a previous campaign, Michel De Gregorio. Thiago Motta has taken over as head coach, bringing fresh ideas. While this may be a bit more of a rebuilding campaign as Motta tries to settle into Juve, the fans will always expect Juventus to be competing for the league, and with their new manager and signings, if they all click, Juve could well reclaim their throne. AC Milan. Last season's runners-up, Milan are once again going to be in the mix to take the title, but there is a feeling they will need to bolster their squad a bit more this summer if they are to get the job done. With the appointment of Paulo Fonseca as the new head coach, the team is looking to bridge the gap between them and their bitter rivals Inter. Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez are expected to be crucial to Milan's campaign as always, while new signing Alvaro Morata will look to add a winning mentality to the squad. The team's depth and quality across all positions make them a strong contender, and if they can have their key players, such as Leao and Hernandez, all performing at their best this season, then Milan are going to make a real push for that Scudetto. Napoli. Napoli is gearing up for this season with a fresh and renewed ambitions after a highly disappointing season in which they finished 10th in the league. Despite last season's underperformance, Napoli remains a club with significant potential and is eager to re-establish themselves as a title contender, especially now that Antonio Conte squad with notable signings such as Leandro Spinazzola and Alessandro Buongiorno from Torino. However, they have lost some key players such as Zielinski, and of course Victor Osimhen looks set to depart. It does seem likely though that Lukaku will reunite with Conte, and if Napoli can get the Lukaku we saw at Inter under Conte, they will have one of the best strikers in the league on their hands. Keeping hold of Kavisha Kvaratskhelia is also a big boost. In Conte, Napoli have an experienced winner who knows what it takes to get the job done in the Serie A, meaning they could be set for a surprise title charge. Right, the Serie A Champions League race then. Atalanta. Atalanta are going into this season with a lot of confidence, following a remarkable previous season that saw them earn a Champions League spot and win the Europa League. Atalanta, under the management of Gasperini, remain a formidable team, and they are actually one of the only sides to stick with their manager this season, giving them great stability. Their main challenge will be maintaining consistency throughout the season, as that has been what their problem was in the last few years, and also managing multiple competitions with a return to the Champions League this season. Atalanta naturally will lose some key players, as they always do, but they replace them with better ones. Koopmeiners looks set to leave while Caleb Akoli and Moranchuk are gone, but they have been replaced by Chelsea de Ketelara, whose loan was made permanent, and Ben Godfrey. The signing that could decide their season, however, is Nicolo Zaniolo. After turning Scamacca's career around, Gasperini now has to repeat the trick with Nicolo Zaniolo, a player with lots of ability, but yet to show it. And if he can succeed, Atalanta will be pushing for those Champions League spots once again. Roma. At Roma, things are looking positive for them. After a great end to last season under interim Daniel De Rossi, he's been given the permanent job and significant backing. Angelino, Samuel Dahl, Enzo Lefebvre, Matteo Sule and La Liga top goal scorer Artem Dovbyk have come in, costing almost 100 million euros. Sule had an incredible loan at Frosinone last season, and alongside Artem Dovbyk, which is a real coup for Roma, with Paulo Dybala in there as well, Roma suddenly have one of the best attacks on paper in the league. De Rossi showed promise last season as interim, but now with a full season in charge and new signings, this will be the true test to see just how good a manager he really is. And Roma fans will be expecting, after all this investment, a return finally to the Champions League. Surprise contenders. Bologna. It might seem odd to suggest Bologna, after having their team gutted, would remain outside contenders, but such as the way they are run as a football club, they will remain a force this season. Manager Motta, Joshua Zirkzee and Riccardo Calafoli have left, which are big losses, but sporting director Giovanni Sartori has the trust of everyone in replacing them. He has already found a Dutch forward to succeed his Dutch forward, Digis de Linga, who scored 19 goals for Toulouse last season and could be one of the signings of the season. Juan Miranda, the former La Masia product, has been brought in at left back, and Matt Hummels could potentially join, adding a bunch of much needed experience. While they have lost Motta, who did a great job, they have recruited perhaps the best possible manager they could at their level, with Vincenzo Italiano joining. The 46-year-old joined Fiorentina in 2021 and took them back to European football after a 5-year absence in his first season, and led them to 3 cup finals, including 2 European finals, although he did lose both. Italiano is a great coach and very good in Europe, so with Bologna in the Champions League, should be able to manage that very well, along with keeping performances in the league high. So if you're expecting Bologna to be this one-season wonder, you would be very, very wrong. The flops. Lazio. In the capital, it appears to be an end of an era for Lazio as they rebuild, and this season will be much more of a sensational one for them. Lazio legend, the league's 8th all-time top goal scorer, 4-time Golden Boot winner Gerard Immobile has left. Immobile still isn't the only one though, as Felipe Anderson has gone, and one of the league's best playmakers in the last decade, Luis Alberto, finally got his move to Doha. They have a new manager in Marco Baroni, who is really nothing more than a journeyman in Italian football, and their signings have been okay, with the likes of Nuno Tavares and Castrovilli joining, but Lazio's squad looks fairly weak, as they are set for a rebuilding season, getting rid of the old guard and hoping to develop some new talents. For that reason, it appears very likely Lazio could have a pretty mediocre season. The relegation battle. Cagliari. Cagliari narrowly avoided finishing in the bottom three last season, as they finished just 1 point clear of the drop zone. They largely struggled, winning just 8 games and conceding 68 goals, with only the bottom 3 teams allowing more. Goal scoring was also an issue, with just 42, and these troubles are highlighted by the fact their top goal scorer netted just 5 times in 26 games. They are under a new head coach in Davide Nicola, replacing Claudio Ranieri. Nicola was in charge of fellow strugglers Empoli and did guide them to safety, and he will look to do the same for Cagliari. Empoli navigated a dramatic escape last season as they survived relegation by a single point. They did so under the aforementioned management of Davide Nicola, who joined in mid-January. However, as I just mentioned, he has now departed and been replaced by Roberto De Avasa. Despite their great escape, there are plenty of issues that will leave them fighting for survival once more. In particular, their attack scored just 29 goals in 38 games, the worst in the division. Only one player, Mbai Niang, remember him, recorded more than 5 goals. As a result, it is likely they will again be one of the teams trying to avoid the drop. Venezia. After spending 2 seasons in Serie B, Venezia were promoted back to the top flight via the playoffs. It came after a third-place league finish, and they will attempt to stay in the division for a second season after failing to survive in 2022. However, due to their history and inexperience in the league, this makes them a prime candidate to go straight back down. They were Serie B's top scorers, but it remains to be seen how this translates in the higher division. Forward Joel Pajamplo was the division's leading goal scorer with 22, and he will hope to bring this form into the upcoming season. However, he's never managed in a top 5 league to score more than 6 goals in the season. They need him to step up this year if they are to stay in Serie A. Right, the best players then. Last season's Golden Boot and MVP winner Lautaro Martinez is tipped to win the Golden Boot once again, and the MVP award. If Inter are to reclaim their title, he will most likely be crucial. Behind Martinez, his Inter teammate Nicola Barella could take it, and previous winners Rafael Leao and Kavicha Kvaratskhelia will be in the running should Napoli and Milan have good years. The breakout stars. Albert Gudmundsson of Genoa netted 14 goals last season in, to be fair, what was the breakout season for him, but his year could be even better as Genoa look to cement their place in the mid-table of Serie A, and he is an outside shout for the Golden Boot this season. Francesco Camada for AC Milan is just 16, but has already made 2 first-team appearances up front for them. He should expect more game time this season in a potential breakthrough campaign. Kenan Yildiz is one of the only Juventus youngsters not to be sold this summer, and after featuring at the Euros for Turkey under Thiago Motta, who gives youngsters a chance, he might be given more opportunities this season to become a regular starter for Juve. And the interesting transfers in Serie A. Moise Kean has left Juventus finally and joined Fiorentina. This is a chance for Kean to play regular minutes and try to salvage his career at Fiorentina. Let's see how he does. side to Bergamo as he's joined Atalanta. Many English players have recently joined Italy and had joy, such as Loftus-Cheek, Tomori, can Ben Godfrey be the next? Another surprise move was Jay Adams, who has joined Torino from Southampton. Just like Godfrey, many Scottish players have been moving to Serie A, being very, very successful too. Will Adams be able to follow their footsteps? So, that was Serie A. We now move on to the Bundesliga, where, after Leverkusen ended Bayern's decade of dominance in style, the Bundesliga looks to be one of the most exciting leagues this season, with many storylines. Can rookie manager Vincent Kompany win the league? Will Leverkusen go back-to-back? Can Nuri Sahin rebuild Dortmund? We've got a lot to discuss here, so let's begin with the title race. Bayer Leverkusen. Unbeaten Leverkusen are the team to beat after toppling the mighty Bayern Munich last year. They also won the DFB Cup, whilst also going unbeaten in a German record 40 domestic games over the course of a near flawless campaign. Was it a one-off, or are Xabi Alonso's Invincibles the new touchstone of German football? Those are the questions that will be answered this campaign, and they'll take some stopping, especially after retaining the services of star players like Alejandro Grimaldo and Florian Wirtz. But there will be no shortage of teams trying to bring them down this year. They now have Champions League football to contend with, which is a different step up from Europa League last year. And while they will be in the title race, it's likely going to be a lot closer than last season. Bayern Munich. A first trophyless season since 2011-12. Behind them, Bayern will be at the front of the queue of hunters. Thomas Tuchel has moved on with Vincent Kompany, his surprise successor. The record champions have also acquired the services of Japan defender Hiroki Oto, Joao Palhinha, whilst talented winger Michael Elise has also joined them, with a view to returning what they believe is rightfully theirs. And let's not forget about Harry Kane, who ended his debut season only 5 short of Lewandowski's 41-goal record. While they have a bit of an unproven manager at this level, they have the talent in the squad to really push Leverkusen for their crown again next season. The Champions League race. Borussia Dortmund. Like Bayern, Dortmund will be expected to put in a much improved domestic showing. Despite going better than their rivals by reaching the Champions League final, BVB only managed a 5th place Bundesliga finish last term. That was enough to prompt the club to turn over a new leaf, with club legend Nuri Sahin replacing Edin Terzic as coach, and Marco Reus and Mats Hummels moving on. What a story it would be if Sahin can bring the good times back to BVB, having won the title with them under Jurgen Klopp in 2010-11. However, a title push does seem a little bit too far, but Champions League football and progress will be priority under Sahin in this new era. RB Leipzig. Leipzig have been one of the most consistent teams in the Bundesliga in the last few years. Always getting top 4, they look a shoe-in to qualify for the Champions League again this season. Last year was another solid one for them, reaching the Champions League knockouts and finishing 4th, but they will hope to really push on this season. It does seem like they could lose Dani Olmo, which would be a big loss. However, keeping Xavi Simons for another year is huge. A title push similar to Dortmund does seem a little bit of a stretch, but they should certainly be aiming for Champions League football again this year. The outside contenders. Stuttgart. After a sensational season finishing 2nd last year, Stuttgart have unfortunately lost some key players, but should still be in the race for Europe. Manager Sebastian Hoeneß now has the challenge of preparing his team for European football alongside the Bundesliga, without key players such as Girassi and Vladimir Anton, who have departed for Dortmund, but he's already shown in his short career he is more than capable of rebuilding. He's done a fantastic job at Stuttgart, and they've also made some sensible transfers to replace those key players, so I wouldn't expect them to completely collapse this season after a terrific campaign last year. Eintracht Frankfurt. Having been assistant to Julian Nagelsmann at Bayern, Klaus Toppmöller got his first managerial job in the Bundesliga last summer at Frankfurt and promptly led the side to a sixth-place finish, which was real progress. With Hugo Ekitike and Robin Koch now having signed permanently, in addition to the capture of the exciting Can Uzan, Toppmöller will look to go as far as possible on both domestic and European fronts next season, and after a strong first season in charge, will aim to push for those Champions League spots this time around. The flops. Heidenheim. Heidenheim's Frank Schmidt is the longest serving coach in the Bundesliga, having taken charge of his side back in 2007. This will be Heidenheim and Schmidt's second season in the Bundesliga, a remarkable achievement when you consider he took over the side in the German fifth tier. Since then, the club has risen through the divisions, culminating last season's incredible 8th place finish. While it was a great story, this season will certainly be difficult due to the departures of key men Tim Kleinston and Jan-Niklas Beste. Heidenheim fans will hope Schmidt will still be able to work his magic once more. However, it does seem likely there will be a significant drop-off this season. Relegation fight. St. Pauli. After 13 years in Bundesliga 2, the boys in brown are back. Germany's ultimate cult club returned to the big time as sole top-flight representatives of Hamburg, winning Bundesliga 2 last season ahead of rivals Holstein Kiel. Fabian Hürzeler has since shipped out to England to take reins at Brighton, which is going to be a big miss for them. The question is, can their new head coach Alexander Plessen re-establish their place in the top tier? VfL Bochum. Bochum finished in the relegation playoff last season, only 6 points above relegated Cologne, and they could be in for another testing term. They leaked 74 goals last term, but also struggled going forward. Kevin Stoker was their top scorer in the league, but he has moved on to Borussia Mönchengladbach, adding to the feeling that they are prime candidates for the drop. Holstein Kiel. Holstein Kiel got promoted to the Bundesliga for the very first time, with a second place finish in the Bundesliga 2 last season, and their aim will be to stay in the division. They can take inspiration from Heidenheim last season, who in their first Bundesliga campaign finished 8th, but it is highly unlikely the same will happen for Holstein Kiel, who lack the same quality and will be praying they can stay in the Bundesliga at the first attempt. Interesting transfers. Okay, now this player isn't actually an interesting transfer, but it's a really cool and interesting managerial appointment, as Ralph Hasenhüttl has been appointed by Wolfsburg. The former Southampton man will return to management for the first time since his departure, and let's see how he does, as many people gave him plaudits in England. Anyway, let's move on to the actual transfers then. Seri Girassi, Stuttgart to Dortmund. Only Harry Kane scored more goals across Europe's top 5 leagues last season than Girassi, who struck 28 times in as many Bundesliga outings in a superb campaign for Stuttgart. This was the first time in his career he's been this prolific, and he's now left Stuttgart, so we're gonna find out if this was just a one-season thing or he's the real deal at Dortmund. Ermedin Demirovic, Augsburg to Stuttgart. While Girassi has left, his replacement looks to be just as good. The 6'1" Hamburg native has swapped Augsburg for Stuttgart after a stunning campaign last year which saw him score 15 times and provide 9 assists in the Bundesliga. Let's see if he can fill the void left by Girassi for Stuttgart. And we have Joao Palhinha, Fulham to Bayern Munich. After a long closely to see if he can live up to those expectations and help get Bayern the Bundesliga back. So who are going to be the best players in the Bundesliga this season? Harry Kane is the obvious favourite after his sensational campaign. He was close to breaking Lewandowski's record last season. Let's see if he can beat the record this year. If Kane was to drop off though, his Bayern teammate Jamal Musiala looks a good option to be the best Bundesliga player after his sensational Euros with Germany. Of course, his German teammate Florian Wirtz will also be in the mix if Leverkusen are to continue their form this season. And the Bundesliga breakout stars then. Can Özcan, Frankfurt. Given how prolific Özcan was at youth level for Nuremberg, they had almost no choice to throw him in the deep end last season in the Bundesliga too, and he took to the second tier like a duck to water. Özcan was among the division's most clinical players, with only 4 players scoring more than his 16 strikes, despite him being an attacking midfielder. Frankfurt swooped in and aged 18, he could make that step up from Bundesliga 2 and take the Bundesliga by storm this season. Hassan Ouedraogo, RB Leipzig. Ouedraogo's emergence was one of the few bright spots for Schalke last season, as he made 17 league appearances at the age of just 17 as Schalke's youngest ever player. At Leipzig now, a club renowned for their ability to polish rough diamonds, he has the perfect platform to hone his undoubted skills. Projan Gruder, Mainz. Unlike the other names, Gruder already has a full season of Bundesliga football under his belt, having played a role in securing Mainz's future in the division last year. The 20-year-old is set to play a bigger role this season. His performances were recognised by Nagelsmann as he was included in the Euros training camp in the summer. Should his development continue, he may well be a regular feature for the national team this year. On to La Liga. Now La Liga has always been known to have the best players in the world, and well, this season it seems to be reverting back to that with so many star players and names in the league. It's going to be a really, really fun one to watch. So let's talk about the title race. Real Madrid. Real Madrid were imperious throughout the 23-24 season, losing just once as they accumulated 95 points to recapture their title from Barcelona. Inspired by the brilliance of Bellingham and Vinicius, Madrid have now added French superstar Mudryk to their star-studded ranks, as well as promising talent Endrick. Los Blancos are aiming to win back-to-back La Liga titles for the first time since 2007, and given that they have added one of the best players in the world to their already title-winning squad, they look good to do so. Although, with Mbappe coming in, it will mean a new shape and slight tweak to the way they play, so it is definitely not a foregone conclusion that they are winning the league. Barcelona, who are now led by new manager in the form of ex-Bayern Munich and German boss Hansi Flick, are seeking to add to their 27 La Liga crowns this season and stop the Real Madrid Galacticos. The Catalan Giants have been buoyed by the recent emergence of bright young talents including Yamal and Kabassi, who will lead the challenge to rival Real Madrid alongside fellow La Masia graduates Pedri and Gavi, who, if they can stay fit, will be key players for Barca. They are also looking to add Nico Williams and Dani Olmo to their ranks, which, if that happens, would be sensational. And even if, on paper, Madrid have a better squad than Barca, Barcelona will for sure be competing for that title for most of the season. The top 4 race. Atletico Madrid. Diego Simeone's Atletico Madrid are outside contenders for the La Liga title, but more than likely will fall short and be in a race for Champions League football once again. Atleti finished 9 points behind Barcelona last term, but still remain one of the strongest clubs in Spain, and the addition of Ruben Normand improves them at the back. Conor Gallagher may also join, which is another good move, and overall Atletico should be improving from last season and will be the closest challengers to the top two. Athletic Bilbao. Bilbao placed 5th in La Liga last term, finishing 8 points off the Champions League, but they could close that gap this season. Girona will likely drop out of the top 4, which we will get on to, meaning a space opens up and Athletic look well placed to capitalise. They are in the great hands under experienced boss Ernesto Valverde, and if Nico Williams stays, they will almost certainly get top 4. Braga's Alvaro Di Giallo has also been brought in after a decent campaign, and a top 4 finish looks well in reach for them. Real Sociedad. Sociedad started well last season, losing just 3 of their first 19 games and topping their Champions League group. But following the winter break, they seem to have completely collapsed, finishing 6th in the league. This summer has seen them lose centre-back Robin Normand in a big money move to Atleti, but they have made some smart signings themselves and so far have kept hold of midfielder Martin Supermendi and winger Takefuso Kubo. So, they can keep further outgoings to a minimum. There is no reason they can't mount a strong top 4 push. And with no Champions League football this year to contend with, should be able to deal with the second half of the season dips better. Outside contenders, Villarreal. The Yellow Submarine finished 8th last season, but they made up an impressive amount of ground in the second half of the season. After a shoddy first few months that saw them cycle through 3 managers by mid-November before Marcelino took the reins. Villarreal surged under Marcelino and lost only 2 of their last 18 in La Liga. In midfielder Alex Baena and forwards Ilias Akumach and Jeremy Pino, Villarreal have some of the best young players in La Liga, and all the fundamentals are in place for them to become a top 4 team once again. And with Marcelino in charge for a full season, they will be pushing on the door for that European spot. The flops. Girona. The surprise package of last season, Girona look very unlikely to maintain the levels they showed last year. With the added burden of the Champions League, that is a factor, but more so the way their squad has been completely gutted. Star winger Savio has gone to Manchester City. La Liga's top goal scorer Artem Dovbyk has gone to Rome. Their best centre-back Eric Garcia has returned to Barcelona. Their right-back Jan Kudo has been sold to Dortmund, and their best midfielder Alex Garcia has gone to Leverkusen. It's quite sad how they have just been ripped apart after 1 year, but for that reason it does seem they will struggle massively this time around. The relegation battle. Espanyol gained promotion from the Segunda Division last term, having placed 4th in the standings and gone up through the playoffs. But they struggled to kill off games, drawing 18 and scoring only 59 goals in the process. To make matters worse, 22 of those league goals came from forward Martin Braithwaite, who has since departed for Gremio. Espanyol has failed to find a suitable replacement and have been quiet in the transfer window, which could cost them in a potentially congested relegation battle. Rayo Vallecano. The Madrid-based club finished in 17th place last season, ensuring survival by a margin of 5 points. Real won only 1 of their last 6 games of the season, and were it not for the fact that the 3 sides below them were so poor, their fate could have been different. Vallecano were the second lowest scorers in La Liga last season with just 29 goals. They've done little to address that glaring issue in the transfer markets, with their only incomings a defender and pair of midfielders, meaning it's likely it's going to be a tough campaign for them again. Las Palmas finished in 16th last season, but this campaign could prove more tricky to navigate. Their manager Garcia Pimienta has left for Sevilla, which is a big blow. The club have been pretty busy in the transfer market, which might help, but overall they have lost a lot of loanees from last season, and that means their squad is feeling a lot weaker than it was. With the uncertainty surrounding the man in charge, it could be a long season ahead. Interesting transfers. Donny van de Beek, Man United to Girona. Girona have taken a 500k gamble on Dutch midfielder Donny van de Beek following his nightmare in Manchester. That's a very cheap price for a player we all know has lots of talent, and if Girona can find that Ajax van de Beek once again, they have a class player on their hands. Ollie McBurney, Sheffield United to Las Palmas. In perhaps the most random move of the window, Ollie McBurney has joined Las Palmas in La Liga. Yeah, very odd. However, it's quite fun to imagine him scoring at the Bernabeu or Camp Nou versus Real Madrid or Barcelona, so I certainly will be tuning into a couple Las Palmas games this season just for him. Nicolas Pepe, free agent to Villarreal. At one point, Arsenal's record signing Nicolas Pepe has joined Villarreal after a really tough last few years. Arsenal fans will tell you that he always had good ability but was never able to showcase it on a consistent basis. He's now been given one last chance in a top 5 league for Villarreal, and what a redemption story it could be for him to perform for Villarreal this season. The best players. Right, where do I start here? I mean, Kylian Mbappe, the new boy, if he settles into Madrid quickly, will likely be the MVP, while his Madrid teammates Vinicius and Jude Bellingham will also be up there. Then, after his sensational Euros, Lamine Yamal might be able to do something, or his teammate Pedri if he stays fit for the entire year. There's not honestly too many names to choose from here, but any of those I mentioned will likely be the best player in La Liga in 24-25. The breakout stars. Arthur Veerman, Atletico Madrid. Veerman moved to Atleti in January 2024 but never got too many minutes as he adapted to his new club and country. However, after his initial settling in period, the 24-25 season could be the year where Veerman becomes a centrepiece in Simeone's new look Atleti, and he has a lot of talent to do just that. Vitor Roque, Barcelona. A league renowned for elevating Brazilian wonder kids, La Liga has another wonder kid in Vitor Roque, who has had to wait to get his opportunity to shine in the first team. Still just 19 years old, Vitor Roque will undoubtedly be looking to learn from Lewandowski and eventually replace him. There were talks he could leave this summer, but he does look set to stay, and similar to Veerman, after a 6-month settling in period, may explode for Barca this season. Endrick, Real Madrid. I mean, this does feel like cheating, as I'm not sure a 70 million player can be a breakout star, but considering his age, I think he counts. Endrick has already shown his ability to net on football's biggest stages, and set to finally join Real Madrid this summer. Endrick is likely to light up La Liga this season. Alright, on to Ligue 1. Now, the French top flight is reeling from the departure of Kylian Mbappe, who was the face of the league. However, that could make the division more competitive and mean there's room for somebody to step up and become the new star of the league this season. So let's talk about the title race. PSG. PSG once again dominated domestically last season, finishing 9 points ahead of second place Monaco. However, this season without Kylian Mbappe could make it a tougher task for them. Nevertheless, the squad is still by far the best in the league, and the addition of João Neves in the midfield, alongside Warren Zaïre-Emery and Vitinha, means they now have some of the best young midfielders in the world of football. The squad in general is very young, with players such as Barcola now expected to step up in the absence of Mbappe. But that will be the overarching question of their season. Who will be the main man can win Liga without a star man. So this is a new challenge for Luis Enrique's side this season. Marseille. Even a run to the semis of Europa League couldn't save Marseille's dismal campaign last year. The club cycled through 4 different managers on their way to an 8th place finish. But despite the club slipping to such a low ebb, they made some big swings this summer. It started in the dugout when they brought in former Brighton boss Roberto De Zerbi. De Zerbi will take charge of a much improved Marseille side who has spent over 70 million on signings that include Mason Greenwood, Youssef Moukoko, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and potentially Eddie Nketiah. More are believed to be on the way with the club targeting further additions. Marseille underperformed last term, but with an improved side should be targeting a return to Europe at a very minimum. De Zerbi has a track record of fast starts, taking Shakhtar top of the table in his first campaign there, and with Brighton in his first campaign leading them to Europe. If De Zerbi can get his style across very quickly, don't be shocked if he push PSG hard this season. AS Monaco. Monaco showed strong performances last season in Ligue, finishing second with 67 points, making them another contender for the upcoming season. This was a really good first season for Adi Hütter, who after his first year will be looking to build upon this and make a real push for the title. They made some smart signings too, with 2 very exciting youngsters, Lamine Camara and George Ilanquinha, joining, while Thilo Kehrer has signed permanently. With PSG expected to take a slight step back, Monaco weren't too far from them last year, so if they can have a slight improvement in their consistency, they will be in the mix for that title once again. The Champions League race. Lyon. Lyon faced a very real threat of relegation last term, sitting bottom of the table midway through. They then resorted to unknown boss Pierre Sage to take charge temporarily. He worked wonders though, taking them up the table with 15 wins in their final 20 matches. They also made the French Cup final, and their campaign ended with the club earning a Europa League spot. In the second half of the campaign, Lyon were playing like title contenders. After that brilliant finish, there is little reason why Lyon can't kick on this season and get back into the Champions League. Lille are going through a lot of changes this season after their manager Paulo Fonseca departed for AC Milan, and their young centre-back Leighton Yoro has also left. However, Lille's model as a club is built around this stuff, and they have a great succession plan, meaning a drop-off is unlikely and they will still be competing for Champions League spots. Bruno Genesio, an experienced manager who got Rennes into the Champions League, is their new manager, and he's been given some experienced players too, with Thomas Meunier and Elise Mandy to help him, while they will lean on the promising youngsters they produce. Despite all the changes at Lille, they will remain in the hunt for the Champions League. The outside contenders. Nice. Nice were one of the early pace setters in Liga last season, challenging PSG at the top of the table before Christmas, before a disappointing second half of last season saw them win just 5 Liga games after the midpoint and finish 5th. But it is all change at the club this summer. Their manager has gone while sporting director Florian Gilsov followed him out the door. In their place have come Frank Hoyes from Lens and Florian Mariche as sporting director from Rennes. The appointment of Hayes is a great one, as Hayes took Lens from Ligue 2 to last season's Champions League and even almost won the title in the 22-23 campaign, finishing a point behind PSG. Meanwhile, their new sporting director at Rennes brought in the likes of Jeremy Doku. However, the squad is also going through some changes, with key players departing in Todibo and Kevin Durant. With these departures, it's likely Nice won't get Champions League football, but with their new manager, shouldn't be too far from the rest. Flops. Strasbourg. The club, who are owned by Blueco, who safe to say, since his new ownership, things haven't really gone to plan. Strasbourg finished 13th in Liga last season, 10 points above the relegation zone, but most of those points were banked earlier in the season, as they ended the season in turmoil, with 10 losses from their last 15 matches. Patrick Vieira was sacked for former Hull manager Liam Rosenior, who, to be fair, is a good coach, but there is so much turmoil on and off the pitch of the club, with fan protests against the ownership, meaning he could be in for a tough season. They have continued to only sign younger players, with all 4 of their signings under 21, and they have also let go of their older, experienced players. The squad is very young, the manager is still fairly young in management, and the fans are unhappy, meaning this could be a disastrous year for the club. Relegation. Saint-Étienne, one of French football's most historic clubs, secured promotion back to Ligue 1 in dramatic fashion last year, scoring a 170th minute winner in the promotion match. They now have the tough task of staying in the division, but they've invested a decent amount for a newly promoted side, spending €10 million so far, including signing Zuriko Davidashvili, who impressed for Georgia in the summer. They had a stern defence, conceding just 31 goals last season, the best record in the league, so with that strong base we'll be looking to build upon that in Ligue 1. Angers have now been promoted in 2 of the last 3 seasons, bouncing back from relegation to win Ligue 2 comfortably last year, but now the objective is to stay in Ligue 1. They were free scoring last season with 72 goals scored, 10 more than the second best, and have managed to keep hold of most of their key players, while also making some interesting moves such as Gabriel Ojo from Luton. However, in general, Angers, while they are probably the strongest of the newly promoted teams, will most probably be in a tough battle to stay up. Le Havre. After securing promotion back to Ligue 1 for the first time since 2008, Le Havre narrowly survived relegation last year, which is a great achievement for the club. They survived by just 3 points with a squad that was kind of overachieving. However, their manager Luca Elsner has departed, which is a major blow, as he was the man who brought them up and kept them in the league. His replacement is Didier Degarde, whose only experience in management was an interim spell at Nice 2 seasons ago, so Le Havre may struggle with this change of management and be in another relegation battle. The best players. With Mbappe gone, the best player award in Ligue 1 this season is very much up for grabs. Alexander Lacazette, who finished joint second in the goal-scoring charts last season, isn't expected to let up in what could be his final season in France. At PSG, the captain Marquinhos may become the main man for them, while the young boys Neves and Emery could also have sensational years. Interesting transfers. Yusufa Makoko, Dortmund to Marseille. He was seen as the future of German football, breaking every record there was, and he very much still could become a great striker, but not at Dortmund. Makoko had limited minutes in senior football at Dortmund and has gone to Marseille to get a chance to play regular senior football for the first time in his career. Let's see if he can live up to expectation. Georges Mikatadze, Ajax to Lyon. After an impressive Euros for Georgia, Mikatadze has earned a move off the back of that and joined Lyon. He was originally going to join Monaco, but Lyon came in at the last second to hijack the deal. This makes this a great story to watch, as if he becomes a star, well, Monaco will be kicking themselves if they let this slip through their hands. However, if he flops, Monaco will be laughing that they dodged a bullet. Tanguy Ndombele, free agent to Nice. After becoming the club record signing for Spurs, Ndombele's career has quickly gone downhill. He spent time in Italy and Turkey and has now returned to France permanently with Nice to try and find some stability in his career. France was where he earned that move to Spurs, so let's see if Belay can find some sort of form back in Ligue 1. For breakout stars, now Ligue 1 is pretty much guaranteed to have a few massive breakout stars, and for this season, George Ilinkunye, a new forward for Monaco, could be the one. He's just 17 and has joined after a great season as the starting striker for Antwerp in Belgium, and looks set to be the starting striker for Monaco, where he could really showcase his talents. His Monaco teammate Ellis Benzagir could also have a breakout year. He's been touted as the next big thing to come out of Monaco and has slowly been integrated into first team. He's 19 and after a couple years of first team appearances, this could be the year where he's ready to become a regular star for the Monaco team. Ayoub Biardi for Lille also looks set to be a breakout star this season. Coming from the famed Lille Academy at the age of just 16, Biardi broke into the Lille first team last season, making 7 starts in midfield. After getting a taste of senior football, he is expected to play more regularly for Lille this year, and who knows, could follow in the steps of his former Lille teammate Lenny Yoro. Okay, so those were the big 5 leagues. Now we'll move on to some of the other leagues across Europe, but we won't go into as much detail. So we'll go to League One, a very exciting league with lots of team battling for promotion, weirdly a league with quite a few blockbuster owners in, Tom Brady at Birmingham and Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney at Wrexham. But let's talk about the promotion race from the EFL League One. Birmingham City are the favourites for automatic promotion. The Blues will be under the management of Chris Davis, a highly respected coach at Spurs. They have made some interesting acquisitions. They have the strongest squad in the league, and failing to get promotion would be a disaster of a season for the Blues. Bolton will be entering their 4th season in League One and following the disappointment of 2 playoff campaigns in the last 2 years. They are listed as the 2nd favourites heading into the campaign. After only missing out on promotion last season by a few points and then losing in the playoff final, Bolton will be hoping to avoid the playoffs altogether this year and go up via automatic spots. Rotherham are once again back in League One following their relegation from the Championship. They changed their manager towards the end of last season by bringing back former manager Steve Evans from Stevenage. Evans will now be tasked to bring glory to the Millers at the first attempt and has plenty of valuable League One experience, as Rotherham will hope to bounce back to the Championship at the first attempt. So some interesting transfers from League One. Johnson Clark-Harris, Peterborough to Rotherham. The Jamaican striker was pivotal in both of Peterborough's promotion campaigns, scoring 57 goals in 91 league appearances. However, he had a difficult year in his final season at Peterborough, but let's see if he can get back to his best at Rotherham and become one of the best goal scorers in League One once again. Luke Berry, Luton to Charlton. Not many players go from playing Premier League football and scoring against Manchester City to playing League One the next year, but that's what Luke Berry has done. After playing in the Prem for Luton, he's left for Charlton to reunite with old manager Nathan Jones. And if he's capable of playing Premier League football last year, I'm sure he's about to rip up League One. The best players. Alfie May will be integral to promotion favourite Birmingham, having scored 23 league goals for Charlton last season, and then a better side looks likely to be the star of League One. Dion Giles will be a contender too, as he scored 16 goals for Bolton last season, while Sariki Dembele for Birmingham could also have a massive season. Okay, let's move on to League Two, the 4th tier of English football, which may not be the most glamorous, but is full of entertainment, and this year should be no different. So let's look at the promotion race. Chesterfield. Last season's National League champions are looking to make it back-to-back promotions and are favourites to do so. They're managed by Paul Cook and are hoping to continue their incredible form from last year, where they scored 108 rivals strolling to the title. This will be a tougher test, but considering how Wrexham did it last year, Chesterfield will be more than likely able to do so. MK Dons. It ended in heartbreak for MK Dons last season as we were beaten in the League Two playoff semi-finals. They'd finished in 4th position following a strong campaign, and they'll be hoping to put that disastrous playoff experience behind them and go for automatic promotion this time around. Doncaster. You'd be hard pushed to find a team in Football League history to have reached the playoffs having been 20th in March, before Doncaster achieved that feat last season. Grant McCann managed to turn things around after a couple injuries. Key players returned and Doncaster soared, only conceding 16 goals in the last 18 games as one of the most informed teams in the EFL. They're aiming to keep that momentum around this season and go for automatic promotion. The best players. Chesterfield's top scorer last season, a name you probably heard was on fire a lot. Ex-Wigan and Sunderland man Will Grigg, with 25 goals, has plenty of experience in the higher division and is more than capable of replicating that form in League Two. The class of 92 owned Salford also have recruited a player who might be able to compete with Grigg for League Two's best player, and that's Ben Woodburn, the former Liverpool Academy man. Interesting transfers. Ben Woodburn, Preston to Salford. Yep, just mentioned it, but this is actually an insane transfer on paper for Salford. Liverpool fans will remember Woodburn was meant to be the next big thing for them, but it never worked out that way. Nevertheless, he's been a regular championship player, and this is the first time he's dropped down to League Two, where he could set the league alight. And Billy Sharp, Hull to Doncaster. In one of the most fun moves of the window, Sheffield legend Billy Sharp has returned to Doncaster aged 38. Now admittedly he's very much on the decline, but he was playing in the championship last season, so clearly has something left in him. And what a story it would be if at the age of 38 he could lead Doncaster to another promotion. Okay, next up we have the Scottish Premiership. Now this is a league that's actually already started, but we're only a few games in, and one of my subscribers wanted me to talk about this league, so here it is. The title race. Celtic. Celtic can go level with Rangers for record title wins in Scotland this year, and they come into the season in by far the strongest position of any team. They already begin the campaign with something of a head start, having won last season's title by 8 points and the one before by 7. They have been excellent in pre-season, recording wins over Manchester City and Chelsea, and while those results will ultimately mean nothing, they contrast differently to their nearest rivals Rangers. Celtic's squad going into the campaign is pretty much just the same as last season, with the addition of Kasper Schmeichel in goal. They could do with another centre forward, and Matt O'Reilly could still leave, which would be a big miss, but there's still plenty of time to solve those issues, and Celtic will be firm favourites for the title again. Rangers. Rangers have had a far less successful pre-season, losing 3 and drawing 1 of their 4 friendlies, but of course results in friendlies don't necessarily mean anything, and they will still be firm challengers for Celtic. Philip Clemens' men were strong from dead ball situations last season, with 25 set-piece goals last year, and that could be what gives them the edge in this title race. Whether they can push Celtic all the way though this time will largely depend on improving that head-to-head record in Old Firm derbies. Celtic won 3 of the 4 games they played last season, with Rangers only managing to get 1 point out of a possible 12 versus Celtic. If they're going to win the league, then they need to beat Celtic in those Old Firm games. Okay, best players. Last season's runaway top goal scorer is an excellent striker Kaigo Furiaje is coming off a somewhat disappointing campaign last year, but more is expected of a Japanese striker, and given that key midfielder Matt O'Reilly is set to depart, Kaigo will once again be the main man for Celtic. Interesting transfers. Kasper Schmeichel on select to Celtic. A shrewd signing by Celtic this summer. Schmeichel may be 37, but he is still a very solid keeper. Capped over 100 times by Denmark, he offers the Hoops further title-winning experience and has worked under Brendan Rodgers before, but let's see if he can replace Joe Hart effectively. Vaclav Cerny, Wolfsburg to Rangers. An 8 million signing for Bundesliga outfit Wolfsburg just a season ago. The Czechia international Cerny is a bit of a coup for Rangers. Aged just 26, he has 6 goals in 17 games at international level and significant experience. If he can stay injury-free, the forward is an exciting signing at Ibrox. Okay, we move on to the Turkish Super League. Now, last season saw one of the best title races in Europe. Referees being punched in the face, players on the pitch having brawls with fans, Super Cup games in Saudi being protested against, and a club threatening to leave the league because of a conspiracy. So, let's see if this year can be just as entertaining. The title race. Galatasaray. The champions from last season haven't started their defence of the title very well. They lost the Super Cup final 5-0 versus Besiktas, raising serious questions about their preparation. That being said, they still have one of the best squads in the country and are the champions for a reason. They have some super talented players such as Hakim Ziyech, Wilfried Zaha, and of course the league's top goal scorer Imran Ghardi, who will be crucial once again to their title hopes. Galatasaray got 102 points last season, losing just 2 games. I'm not sure if he can repeat that same level for a second consecutive year, but he will definitely be competing for the title again. Fenerbahce. After getting 99 points and still not winning the title, Fenerbahce have decided they need one man to help them get over the line. Jose Mourinho. A blockbuster manager has joined a pretty blockbuster team who last year were involved in more drama than you can imagine, so this appointment adds so much more spice to the league. Mourinho, of course, wouldn't have joined unless he was given significant backing, and he's got just that. Youssef En-Nesyri, Alan Saint-Maximin, Krunic, Cenk Tosun, Gagla Soyuncu have all joined, making Fenerbahce just as good, if not have a better squad than their title rivals Galatasaray. For all his success, Mourinho hasn't won a league title since 2015 though, meaning he's got a big challenge ahead of him to prove he's still got what it takes to win league titles in the modern day. Besiktas. Besiktas fell apart last season, finishing way off the place in 6th place. However, they are expected to make a return to the title race this season. They won the League Cup last year, showing they still have quality in the squad, and now have a new manager in Giovanni van Bronckhorst. And, well, as I mentioned earlier, he's got off to the best possible start by spanking the champions 5-0 in his first game in charge. That's laid down a marker to say Besiktas are back and ready to compete again. With one of Serie A's best ever goal scorers signed in Immobile, they have a striker able to compete with Icardi for the Golden Boot and fire them to the title. 2 of the Portuguese league's best players in the last few years in Al Maserati and Rafa have also joined, as well as former Arsenal defender Gabriel Balista. Besiktas, with these signings, are more than ready to compete with the big 2 sides of this season. So the best players. Mauro Icardi has been the best goal scorer and player in Turkey for a while, but now has some stiff competition. Youssef En-Nesyri has become a batsman in La Liga in the last few years, and the same for Immobile in Serie A. So if they can replicate that in the Turkish Super League, they will compete heavily with Icardi for that Golden Boot. Meanwhile, Saint-Maximin could also have a big season for Fenerbahce. Interesting transfers. Alan Saint-Maximin, Al Ali to Fenerbahce. I just mentioned him, but this really is a big signing let's see if he has taken a step back from Saudi or is still his former self. If he is, then Fenerbahce have one of the best players in the league on their hands. And we have Michy Batshuayi, free agent to Galatasaray. The ultimate snake, the former Chelsea striker, had played for Turkish giants Fenerbahce since 2022. However, his contract with the club expired, allowing him to move to rivals Galatasaray. Let's not forget he's also played for Besiktas, meaning he's played for all three of the biggest clubs in Turkey. And it's safe to say this transfer hasn't gone down well with Fenerbahce fans. If he scores versus Fenerbahce, I think there might be another pitch invasion brawl, and he's going to have to start practicing those roundhouse kicks again. Okay, on to the Eredivise. Now this is a league which has become one of the best when it comes to developing talent, and there's quite a few great teams in there this year. So involved in the title race this year will be PSV, who under Peter Bosz last season cruised to the title, winning their first 17 league games, amounting a mammoth 91 points. They look to be favourites to defend the title as their squad has largely remained the same, and they haven't suffered a major departure. PSV will be confident that their current squad can secure them back-to-back Eredivise titles, while there still is just under a month to go into the market closes. They could still make improvements. Feyenoord. The Arne Slot era has come to an end, and the new Liverpool manager has been replaced by Brian Prisk, who was plucked from Sparta Prague after inspiring the side to back-to-back league titles. Prisk hasn't helped by the departure of star midfielder Mats Viva and Loni Janko Minter. Meanwhile, the likes of Gerd Luder, David Anker and Santiago Jimenez continue to be linked with moves away. However, if Feyenoord can keep hold of those stars, particularly Jimenez, they should be up near the top spots again. Ajax. Last season was one of the worst for Ajax. They finished in 5th place and went through 3 different managers, but despite last season's issues, this year looks to be a much better one. There is still quality in the squad with the likes of Steven Berghuis, Steven Bergwijn and Brian Brobby, while Jordan Henderson will be relied upon. And with their famed academy, I'm sure their new manager Francesco Farioli will utilise those players very well. Farioli did a great job for Nice last season, and for the first time in a long time, Ajax are no way favourites to win the league, but they are still more than capable of doing so. So the best players in the Eredivise this season, Johan Bakayoko and Shuey Veerman for PSV look likely to be the best players if they stay as they have been linked away. Elsewhere, Brian Brobby will look to build upon his good season for Ajax in front of goal, while Santiago Jimenez will continue to bag goals, you would imagine, should he stay at Feyenoord. Interesting transfers. Troy Parrott, Spurs to AZ Alkmaar. Troy Parrott was once tipped to be the next Harry Kane, but for whatever reason things never worked out. However, he has sort of revived his career with a great loan at Dutch side Excelsior last season. That has helped him get a permanent move to European challengers AZ Alkmaar and a chance for him to really try and live up to his potential. Okay, onto the Primeira Liga. Now, just like the Eredivise, the Portuguese league has had a fantastic reputation in recent years for nurturing some of Europe's best talents. And they also have 3 fantastic teams this year who should be immersed in a great title race. So let's talk about that title race. Sporting Lisbon. The champions Sporting are looking to do something they haven't done since 1953 and win back-to-back Portuguese titles. There was a sense that this year would be an end of an era though, as Ruben Amorim, their coach, was heavily linked with a move away. However, he has stayed, which is a massive decision for Sporting, and heavily increases their chances of winning the league again. While there is speculation around some of their players leaving, for now, all of their key players have stayed, including the league's top goal scorer Victor Gyökeres. Sporting go into this season with pretty much the same squad as last year, making them favourites to retain the title. Benfica. The last season, Benfica finished second, which for them is a poor season, and they'll be looking to reclaim their throne on the top of the table. Last season was bad, however, they still have plenty of quality in the squad and have added some great players to regain their title. Renato Sanchez returns to the club. Vangelis Pavlidis, one of Europe's most prolific strikers, has joined, while Jan Nicolas Beste, who was superb in Bundesliga last year, has also joined. João Neves has left, which is a big blow, but Benfica were always expecting that, and they have enough quality to replace him effectively and make a title push this season. Porto. While Sporting look to be at an end of an era, Porto really are at an end of an era. Sergio Conceição, their manager for 7 years, has left after a disappointing season and been replaced by young, progressive manager Vitor Bruno. More interestingly though, Andrés Villas-Boas, the former Spurs and Chelsea manager, has become president of Porto. Yeah, that's crazy. This is very exciting, with all this change and youthfulness coming into the club as the old guard of players also depart, with Mehdi Taremi and Pepe leaving. Porto are going for a youth approach, and while they may not be favourites with the club undergoing a bit of a rebuild, they still have enough quality to win this league and remain in the title race. Right, the best players. The Portuguese league still has some really good players. Victor Gyökeres, should he stay, will be set to be the best player and Golden Boot winner again. His Sporting teammate Pedro Gonçalves is another name, while Galeno and Diego Costa will be key for Porto, and Antonio Silva and Orkan Koku will probably have good years for Benfica. Interesting transfers. Renato Sanchez, PSG to Benfica. Renato Sanchez has been given a chance to get his career back on track by joining his boyhood club Benfica. He became a superstar at Benfica and has now got the chance to do that again after some really poor years in the last couple seasons. Let's see if he can return to the Sanchez we saw at Benfica before. And Zino de Bast and elected to Sporting. One of Belgium's best young centre-backs, Zino de Bast, has joined Sporting and he could develop into a superstar. He's only 20 years old and seems like the long-term replacement for Gonzalo Inacio, who will likely leave in the future for a big fee. De Bast, I wouldn't be shocked, follows the same path. Okay, on to the Belgian Pro League, another league which is already underway. The Belgian Pro League has begun and is looking like a really exciting season, especially with some of the best young players in the league. So the title race. Union Saint-Gilloise. Last season was another one where Union Saint-Gilloise came very close to winning the league but failed. They did, however, manage to win the domestic cup for the first time in over 100 years. They did lose their head coach who departed for St. Pauli, but in comes Sebastian Pocognoglu, who will hopefully try to keep up their success. They have one of the best squads in Belgium, ensuring their successor will still be competing for the title. The side already have one trophy in the bank, having beaten Club Brugge in the Super Cup, and hope to add the big one at the end of the season. Club Brugge. Last season's champions, Brugge will be looking to retain their crown this season, although they were a tad fortunate last year. Way off the pace of Anderlecht and USG in the regular season. Once the points were halved and the playoffs began, the Club Brugge that everyone expected to see last season finally showed up. They were the best team in the playoffs and took advantage of slip-ups. However, this season they lost Igor Thiago to Brentford, which will be a big miss in terms of goals, but they have made some nice signings with that money and should be well in the mix for the title again. Anderlecht. Anderlecht put in a strong title challenge last season, however they were unable to maintain their challenge and ultimately fell short. Expectations are now high that the club will go one better. They have lost some key players including Schmeichel and De Bast, but the side still has plenty of attacking talent in the likes of Andres Dreyer and Kasper Dolberg. Given that they also have European football to contend with this season, they must manage their squad effectively, and if they do, they should be able to mount another title challenge. So best players. Hans Vanaken remains a reliable performer and serial winner for Club Brugge, as well as his teammate Skov Olsen, who both will be looking to have good seasons. Kevin Denke for the other Brugge side, Circle Brugge, was the top scorer last season and will hope for more of the same. Watch out for some of the young guns as well, such as Bilal El Kanous for Genk, who looks likely to be the next big thing out of the league and could explode this season. And interesting transfers. Christos Solis, Norwich to Club Brugge. Once seen as a Greek wonder kid, Solis hasn't really lived up to expectations with disappointing spells in England, with Norwich and in the Eredivise. However, last season he returned to form, dropping down to the Bundesliga 2 with Fortuna Düsseldorf, grabbing an insane 27 goal contributions in 30 games. He was clearly too good for the second division, and he's now joined Brugge, so if he can replicate that in the Belgian Pro League, Brugge have one of the best attackers in the league on their hands. Right, now we're going to look at some other leagues. We'll look at other leagues across Europe and just some talking points in there ahead of the season. Nothing in depth, but just stuff to keep an eye on. So, in Greece, the Greek teams had a great time last year with Olympiakos winning the Conference League. PAOK won the title, but were only 8 points ahead of 4th place Panathinaikos in a tough title race. This year will be another tough one too, with some really cool signings in there as well. George Bulldog from Sheffield United has joined Panathinaikos, while Shola Shoradai, Man United Youth Academy player, has joined PAOK, and Eric Lamela has joined the league with AEK Athens. In Czechia, Sparta Prague are going to have to rebuild after losing their manager to Feyenoord, but have made a really interesting appointment in Lars Friss, who was the former Brentford Academy manager. Over in Croatia, Hajduk Split have made some fun moves with Ivan Perisic joining permanently and Ivan Rakitic making a return to Croatia. They have been recruited by former Croatian teammate Nikola Kalinic, who is their sporting director, and they'll be hoping to topple the Dynamo Zagreb dominance. In Denmark, FC Copenhagen are looking to get back on top in the Danish league after a poor season, and they've gone and got Thomas Delaney in, who's returning to Denmark. They've also lost some players including Oscar Højlund, the younger brother of Rasmus, who's joined Schalke. Mika Berif, Arsenal Academy product, has joined Austrian champion Sturm Graz on a permanent, as they look to retain their title. Salzburg are looking to get back their title, but have lost some big players, including centre-back Pavlovic to AC Milan and midfielder Luka Sukic to Real Sociedad. Oh yeah, and last in the Austrian league have signed Jerome Boateng, the World Cup and Champions League winner. Yeah, very rad. And finally in Switzerland, FC Basel have had some really tough years recently, but hope to get back on top and have signed Benny Traoré from Sheffield United, which is an interesting move, reinvesting some of Renato Vega money. So there we go. It was a long video, but we got there in the end. We covered every league in depth for you guys, so you are very much well informed for this 24-25 football season. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see